everybody. My name is Alan Palais, and this is the Sunday morning service of the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship of Potsdam. I am a member of the congregation. We are a congregation that welcomes all. Whether you're seeing us with spirits high or spirits low, we welcome you. Whether your beliefs tend toward atheism or theism, liberalism or conservatism, we welcome you. So whoever you are, wherever you are, whomever you love, we are glad you are with us today. Unitarian Universalism is built on 7 ethical principles. They are written on the back of the order of service. In addition to these principles, our union culture promotes the notion that wisdom can be found from many sources, with a special place held by reason and science, but can also be found in the arts and the humanities and in the spiritual intuition. We believe we have much to learn from the great thinkers of the past, but in building the future, we are not permanently tied to any past theology or ideology. With these values in mind, we consider a wide array of topics at our various Sunday morning services. And we have a wide array of speakers, including guest ministers, members of our congregation, lay speakers from outside our fellowship. Do we have any announcements?
Morning, I'm Linda. I have a couple of announcements. The first of which is, and it looks like everybody got the memo, most of us, is we have decided that masking now is optional, that we're going to leave it up to the individual. Each of us have our own personal perspective in terms of what we feel makes us safer in this time of pandemic. So we're going to leave that up to you as an individual. And even with singing. So thank you for that. The second is get out your calendars, mark your calendars. First of which is we have a birthday to celebrate. And that is actually the birthday of this fellowship. It will be 55 years old. So on October 15th, if that's the correct date. Yes, no?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. October 15th, we will be having a celebratory party here. We will also be combining, since it is about the birth of this fellowship, we will pay honor to one of the founding members, Peggy Jones, who passed away last year. So it should be a good time. Mark the calendars and plan to come on October 15th. The second thing that I would like for people to mark down is on Sunday, I believe it is October 9th. We will be having a town hall meeting after services on that Sunday. The purpose of that, there's nothing really to vote on. There's a number of issues. We had a board meeting yesterday that we would like to get friends and members input on. Not the least of which would be our finances. So if you are able to attend, please stay after that. And there is one more announcement I had, and a mind is a terrible thing to waste. And if I sit here long enough, it might come.
Did you mention masks already?
I did mention the masks. I mentioned the party. I mentioned that. And alrighty, I think that's it. If it comes to me, I'll let you know. Okay, thank you.
I have a slideshow at the October 15th celebration. So if anybody has any pictures, I brought my computer with me today so we could upload pictures if anybody wants to take care of that. If you have pictures, Hitler history, and even though the past 5 years.
Hi, I'm Miranda. I have a big container of cleaner that has bleach in it. The reason I have it is because we're collecting things like this, cleaner with bleach, surface cleaner with bleach for the Pottstown area cluster of religious communities who provide housing support for people who are having some trouble with that. So this is what we're collecting for September. Keep your eye on the newsletter, because in the newsletter you'll see what we're collecting in October. And when you bring your donation, you can put it in a great big basket that's to the right of the kitchen door in the foyer. Thank you.
Hi, I'm John. For Lynn's benefit, there is an entity called benign senescent forgetfulness, which we're all subject as we get older. Because when you have Alzheimer's, this means that the synapses don't click quite as quickly. It's harmless, but having arrived there, I share the malady.
I've had that since my 20s.
And there's no accounting for that. That may be pathology. So anyway, this is a shameless pitch. So Reverend Ackerley, who's going to give our sermon next week, is under the weather a bit. So I've stepped in. It'll be a sermon roughly titled, "Do You Pray?" I thought about prayer, and if it has any impact or meaning for us, you can use. Maybe meditation also. What's the difference? Does it mean anything? Is it truly the opioid of the masses, as Karl Marx said? So I'm going to talk for a bit, but I will leave time after which Reverends opine about their view of the status of prayer in their past life and what it means in current life.
Snaps connected. I was looking at Chris, that reminded me, it's about money. We are looking to do fundraising, all right? And not just necessarily fundraising within these four walls. We are looking for ideas and events to have that would attract the community. So Kim Culp and I are looking to start, I don't want to call it a committee, but a group of people who have ideas and, more importantly, would be willing to help to have those ideas come to fruition. So if you are interested and have creative ideas in terms of what we can do for fundraising, please let myself or Kim Culp know. So thank you very much.
Okay, we now come to lighting the chalice. I offer the following passage written by Reverend Scott Taylor and chosen by our guest minister, Reverend Ken Wilson. Let this dancing light be our guide. Let it lure us into letting go of the worries, of the stiffness that sets in after all the striving, of the myth that productivity alone gives us purpose. This garden of life we've been given is a playground. The weeding can wait. I'd like to now introduce our guest minister. Our guest minister today is Reverend Kim Wilson. She's a lifelong Unitarian Universalist. She graduated with a Master of Divinity degree from Moravian Theological Seminary in 2000 and was ordained in 2001. Served the UU Society in Connecticut for 6 years and the UU Fellowship of the Poconos in Stroudsburg from 2012 until this past January. Last month, Reverend Kim began serving as half-time minister for the UUs of Central Delaware and Dover. In addition to serving congregations, she has served Unitarian Universalism at the regional and national level. For example, from 2019 to 2021, Reverend Kim chaired the National UU Ministers Association Guidelines Ethics Committee, and they did some important rewriting of those ethics under her leadership. She also served the local Priestley Kingsbury chapter of the UU Ministers Association as secretary and president. When she's not engaged in ministry, Reverend Ken enjoys gardening, nature, yoga, and spending time with family. I invited Reverend Ken to conduct a service at our fellowship several years ago, after being impressed by a number of her sermons that I found on the web. After that, I invited her back 2 more times because we liked each of the services. So I am glad she is with us this morning and has agreed to join us for lunch as well. Reverend Ken.
Good morning, and thank you for having me this morning. Glad to be here. Our open words come to us from Carl G. Seberg. Let there be joy in our coming together this morning. Let there be truth heard in the words we speak and in the songs we sing. Let there be help and healing for our disharmony and despair. Let there be silence for the voice within us and beyond us. Let there be joy in our coming together. And I invite you all to open to hymn number 346 in your gray hymnals and to rise as you are able. Join in singing, come sing a song.
We will now have the story for all ages. You will read it, you got forward. Thank you, Ruby.
Good morning. I'm Miss Ruby and I have a story for all ages, but first I need some volunteers. I need 5 volunteers. So, we need to hold stuffed animals. So how about 2? Maybe choose that. Where's the dog? You, the child. And I'm going to hand you all your parts. Okay. Here we go. Dog wants to play. When? To end. Will you play with me? Oh, no, sounds like him. I will get bitten. Poor dog. Oh. Dog wants to play. Today. Will you play with me? No, no, said the lamb. See how shy I am? Poor dog. Oh, dog wants to play. When? Today. I don't dare, said the lamb. I'm too easy to scare. Oh. Poor dog. Dog wants to play. When? Today. Will you play with me? I'm too slow. Celebration. I remember to. Poor dog. Dog wants to play. Today. Can you play with me? I'll play, Susan Child. Let's run and be wild. We'll play. All day. The end.
Oh my goodness. Yes.
Signature announcement classes. We're going to enter into a time of meditation now, and we'll begin with Spirit of Life. Let's have a few moments of silent meditation. Our spoken meditation this morning comes to us from Richard Gilbert. I rise in the morning torn between the desire to save the world or to savor it, serve life or to enjoy it, to savor the sweet taste of my own joy or to share the bitter cup of my neighbor, to celebrate life with exuberant step or to struggle for the life of the heavy laden. What am I to do when the guilt in my bounty clouds the sky of my vision? When the glow which lights my every day illumines the hurting world around me? To savor the world or to save it? God of justice, if such there be, take from me the burden of my question. Let me praise my plenitude without limit. Let me cast from my eyes all troubled folk. No, you will not let me be. You will not stop my ears to the cries of the hurt and the hungry. You will not close my eyes to the sight of the afflicted. What is it that you said? To save, one must serve. To savor, one must save. The one will not stand without the other. Oh, forgive me. In my preoccupation with myself, in my concern for my own life, I had forgotten. Forgive me, God of justice. Forgive me, and make me whole. May it be so.
To save or savor the world, that's an interesting dilemma, and it was a very nice presentation that those words. We now come to the offertory. We all contribute a great deal to our fellowship, in the work we do, and in the money we pledge, and in the friendship and support we give each other. Our basket collections provides a small but not insignificant part of our income. So each Sunday, we pass the basket to help keep our fellowship going.
This reading this morning was written by Maria Lugones, and it comes from a paper she wrote called Playfulness, World Traveling, and Loving Perception. We are by the riverbank. The river is very, very low, almost dry, but mostly is wet stones, gray on the outside. We walk on the stones for a while. You pick up a stone and crash it onto the others. As it breaks, it is quite wet inside and very colorful, very pretty. I pick up a stone and break it and run toward the pieces to see the colors. They're beautiful. I laugh and bring the pieces back to you, and you are doing the same with your pieces. We keep on crashing stones for hours, anxious to see the beautiful new colors. We are playing. The playfulness of our activity does not presuppose that it is a particular form of play with its own rules. Rather, the attitude that carries us through the activity, a playful attitude, turns the activity into play. Our activity has no rules, although it is certainly intentional activity, and we both understand what we're doing. The playfulness that gives meaning to our activity includes uncertainty. But in this case, the uncertainty is an openness to surprise. This is a particular metaphysical attitude that does not expect the world to be neatly packaged, ruly. Rules may fail to explain what we're doing. We're not self-important. We're not fixed in any particular constructions of ourselves, which is part of saying that we are open to self-construction. We're not worried about competence. We're not wedded to a particular way of doing things. While playful, we have not abandoned ourselves to, nor are we stuck in any particular world. We are there creatively. We are not passive. Playfulness is in part an openness to being a fool, which is a combination of not worrying about competence, not being self-important, not taking norms as sacred, and finding ambiguity and double edges a source of wisdom and delight. Let's join in singing hymn number 311, Let It Be a Dance. And Carly's going to play for us, and I invite you to rise as you are able.
Let
As Alan mentioned, there was a period of time, actually right after I was ordained, when I lived in Connecticut. And when my son Jamie was 12, he went to a day camp in a town called Ivoryton, not far from where we were living at the time. And all the parents were invited to family day at the camp. So after lunch and a swim in this beautiful clear lake at the official waterfront, Jamie and I took a walk around the path that went around the edge of the lake. And we came upon a ladder with 4 or 5 steps leading up to a platform between 2 trees. And one of the trees had a sturdy limb reaching out over the water, and there was a knotted rope hanging from this branch. And there were father and daughter there taking turns swinging out onto the rope and splashing into the water, big splash. And they'd go under, and then they'd pop up with a great big grin on their faces. So my son whispered, "Do you want to do it?" Well, I said, I wasn't sure we were really allowed to do that. And since we also didn't want to intrude on their fun, maybe we should just continue on our way. Well, he agreed. I could kind of tell that he wasn't sure how brave he felt, first of all. And the other thing was, I heard a little voice inside my head that said, "Come on, Kim, aren't you a little old for this sort of thing?" So we kept walking for a while, and then eventually we turned around and retraced our steps. And once again, we came upon this rope swing. Well, this time mother and daughter were there, and the mother was just climbing out of the water, and she was climbing up the bank, and she was heading right toward me, and she looked up and saw me, obviously a little embarrassed, and she said, "I'm probably the only mother who's crazy enough to do this." Well, that was it. I said, "No, you're not. I'm going to do it too." I confess that I've loved rope swings ever since I was a little kid, and I thought to myself, well, how many times do you get to swing out on a rope and splash into the water with a big cannonball? So I climbed up and I grabbed the rope. Before I gave myself a chance to think too much about it, I swung out over the water, and then when I felt that rope reach its full arc, I let go, I splashed, and then I was under. I came up sputtering, but I did it. Now I was the one with the big grin. My son had been warned by his counselors that this swing could be dangerous. If you let go too soon, you'd hit shallow water and rocks. So he took his time to get up his courage, and then whee, he was out and then falling into safe waters. And he came up with a proud grin. Twice more for each of us, we felt that we had accomplished what we came for. A chance to have a little bit of pure fun, maybe a little daring. We didn't let that chance go by. And then, just as we were leaving, another family, this time it was a woman, a boy about 8, and a man. They came up the path to the bottom of the steps. So we decided to stand back and watch for a few minutes. The father said there was no way he was going to do it, but the son persisted, and he said, "Come on, Dad." And the mother said, "Oh, honey, Daddy doesn't like heights." Well, then Dad climbed the ladder and said, "No, I'm going to do it. I'm fine." Apparently, pushing past his fear and manning up in front of his son, he grabbed the rope, eyed the situation, then he swung, splashed, popped up, and now he was the one with the great big grin. After he climbed out of the water, I commented to him, "Well, now there's something you can add to your list of things I've done in my life." "Yeah," he said, a little breathless and still grinning. Being playful, of course, doesn't necessarily mean doing something daring or even a physical activity. Being playful starts with an attitude. There's a spirit of playfulness inside me that I bring out whenever I can, when it's appropriate, of course. There was a time, though, when I lost touch with that spirit. I was working very hard at my job and at home. My other child was having problems, and it seemed like I was spending all my free time trying to get her the help that she needed. I just plowed my way forward through each day, doing what I felt I had to do. The turning point came after I started seeing a therapist, and it seems like all she did was ask me questions. So one day she said, "So what do you do for fun?" Well, there was a long silence. I couldn't think of a single thing, and I was horrified. So I realized I was juggling too many responsibilities and I wasn't leaving any time for myself to just relax and have a good time. That day, I started making a list of things that I wanted to do for fun, and I actively began incorporating those into my life. Now that my kids are grown and I'm older, and I've also learned to hold life's challenges a little more lightly, I find I can be playful much of the time. It helps to hang out with people who share a similar sense of humor, so we can be silly and laugh a lot together. I find that a playful attitude goes a long way toward finding ways to enjoy life and not letting the things that don't go our way get us down for too long. Enjoyment of life and resilience in the face of difficulties are not small or unimportant matters. We have the right, and not only the right, but we have a need for happiness in order to live a balanced and complete life. Laughter, pleasure, joy, and contentment should not be considered superfluous. They're integral parts of what it means to be whole human beings with a full range of experiences. Regular playfulness helps us to weather the times when life is challenging and to get to a place of happiness and enjoyment of the moment. When we're swinging out on a rope, we literally take a leap of faith. We take hold of the rope, back up a few steps, take a few quick steps forward, and then we're flying through the air. And then we have to let go. If we don't, we'll be in trouble. Letting go can be a little scary because once we aren't holding on anymore, we're not in control. We're moving through the air, subject to unknown forces, clinging to the faith that whatever's next, we'll survive and maybe even enjoy. We open ourselves up to surprises, new experiences. For many of us, it's hard to let go of traveling a straight and narrow path through our days, a ruling path. Beyond 3rd or 4th grade, we're actively taught that being playful or acting silly is wrong. We've been trained to be responsible, non-playful adults. On any given day, our agenda may feel set. We don't really want, or maybe we don't feel that we can veer from our course for whatever reason. Maybe we're in a time crunch. We might be dealing with a crisis. Maybe we think, oh, sure, it'd be nice, but I don't really need to do this. Take a different route home just to see what you see. Bake some cookies in fun shapes, not for the kids or the grandkids, but just for yourself. Play a silly game like Pictionary. Kick a stone down the sidewalk. Every day there are tiny forks in the road of life where we can either go for it or let it go by. Sometimes, like launching ourselves over the water on a rope swing, we might have to give ourselves a little push. It does take some courage to be unserious. If we pride ourselves on always appearing responsible and competent, it might take a lot of courage. As the author of our reading, Maria Lugones, says, cultivating a playful attitude means being open to surprise and being willing to look foolish. It means risking uncertainty, challenging our sense of self-importance, and realizing that some rules of life can be broken. And once we rediscover our playful self, we might even decide to inhabit that sense of self more fully and see what its creative possibilities might be. Because being playful is creative and it can get the mind and body moving in new directions. Neuroscientists have only recently identified a network within the brain called the default mode network. And as soon as I start describing it, you'll probably know exactly what I'm talking about. The default mode is active whenever there's nothing else in our environment that's calling out for our attention. This is the place where our minds daydream, where we reflect on ourselves, and where we worry. It seems to be the place where what we think of as the self is constructed and maintained. In fact, sometimes neuroscientists call it the me network. It is thought that this is where we compose the story of who we are, where we link our past experiences with what happens to us, and with our projections of the future. One problem with the default mode is that we can get caught in mental loops. Many of us have experienced some form of trauma in our lifetimes, and probably all of us have had childhood or adult experiences that led us to see ourselves in limiting or less than positive ways. We can get stuck in these stories as our default mode repeats them to ourselves as truth. So our default network in some cases can lead to negative and destructive self-regard and many forms of unhappiness. Almost all of us are in need of some kind of spiritual and mental healing. And there are many pathways that can lead us in that direction. Cultivating a sense of playfulness, especially out of nature, can be a source of that healing. I bring in nature because although the default mode network gives us this wonderful sense of individual identity, at the same time, it deceives us into believing that we are separate from each other and from the natural world and the rest of the universe. Being playful out in nature, making up games with rocks or sticks or whatever's at hand, is an act of creativity. Acts of creative play get us out of the groove of our default line of thought. As Maria Lugones says, we are open to self-construction. Nature heals us through its presence and through our presence in it, reminding us of our inherent interconnectedness with all of Earth and beyond, and thus the spirit of love and life. Nature and play work together synergistically to create new grooves in our mental landscape, literally new neural pathways, opening up possibilities for new and healthier thoughts about ourselves to take root. Author Bernard de Koven has been writing for almost 50 years on theories of fun and playfulness and their healing benefits for all aspects of our health, individually, in relationships, and in community. In fact, he is known as the shaman of play. If you're looking for playfulness in your life, he offers these words of wisdom. If you look for reasons to be playful, you may find reasons, but you won't find playfulness. If you look for playfulness in the young, you will find it. If you join them, you will find it in yourself. When you draw, you'll find playfulness. When you throw your drawing away, you'll find deeper playfulness. When you're alone and you dance or sing, you'll find playfulness. When you dance and sing with strangers, you'll find deeper playfulness. When you dance and sing with the people you love, you'll find playfulness of the deepest kind. You'll find playfulness when you daydream, when you pretend, when you make things up, and when you make things for the fun of it. Love lightly and you will find playfulness. Love yourself lightly and you will find playfulness. Love your days lightly. Love what you do lightly. Love lightly the people you're with when you do it. And you will find playfulness everywhere. May it be so. And I invite you now to join in singing hymn number 368. Now let us sing. There are two parts there, so feel free to sing whichever part that you want, or if you want to try to sing them both at once, you can try that too. You could even switch back and forth. We can move too. Sway your music. Be a little playful. Sometimes I have trouble with orders of service. Okay. Sorry about that. I invite you to stand as you would like, and we're going to do a unison benediction this morning. And so I'm going to say a line, and I invite you to repeat after me. Go out into the world in peace. Go out into the world in peace. Have courage. Hold on to what is good. Return to no person evil for evil. Strengthen the faint-hearted. Support the weak. Help the suffering. Honor all beings. And now we're going to turn to our joys and concerns, now that the recording has been finished. But you're going to extinguish our chalice here.